think 13-1 or some crazy stat like that.
I'll tell you what we talk about. Rick Barnes deserves to go to a Final Four, no doubt about it. Karen Weekly, Brian, deserves the golden chalice or whatever it is they give out. And by the way,
she should have been over the first SEC program to win a national championship.
She should have been.
She should have been the first. Yep. Instead, we've had others do it.
But you know what? She, in her career, she gets one fine. If she doesn't, fine. I mean, she's an all-time elite coach. This team they have right now is out of this damn world. The stuff you had in the blog today, Bri, the run differential over the weekend, they don't even walk people. They're not committing errors. I mean, they're just like, they're ripping people limb from limb. Like limb from limb, Bri. And they haven't even been home yet. When they come home, they deserve to play before a jam-packed house. This could be the 2022 baseball season.
I don't think they're going to lose for a while because their schedule before conference play is not very challenging.
I'd like to point out something for baseball is we're 4 games in. Obviously, I think it's an anomaly. They had the 3 guys picked off, and certainly Elander was very upfront about that. But through 4 games, I don't recall an error in the field. And
how about that?
I think that our program could get loose defensively before, and they look very good, even with a revolving lineup in the middle infield. I'm impressed. I really am.
How about the fact that Cinco, that I've gotten emails, a couple different emails from people saying that Josh Elander is being an amateur, still coaching third base over there. What's he think he is, Tim Corbin? I've had 2 people email me and tell me that. Apparently it grates on people that he's out there coaching third while he's the
like
head
you
coach.
Said, Corbin does, and he's a Hall of Fame coach. I'm not suggesting. I mean, you rip on Phillip, but Mangione does at third base. He's a third base coach for Kentucky. Again, I know the eyebrows here. We come from the haters, but no, it's if that's where he feels most comfortable. Why is that any different than Josh Heupel calling offensive plays?
Does that bother you, Bri? That you could find that amateur hour, that he's over there not acting like a quote-unquote head coach, as I was told by 2 different emailers.
Well, Tim Corbin has won 2 national championships, so I only hope that that Josh Elander has that kind of success.
I believe in Josh Verlander. We had Tony Vols, and now we have Josh Verlander. And Verlander, if you're listening, I'm growing chin on my hair. I'm growing hair on my chin in honor of you. Because you had a glow up and now you're having a glow down, which I can respect. Because when you're trying for the job, you glow up. And then when you get the job, you let your facial hair come back and you be you, my man. Just like William Pattison in the Playbook. On the way next year, Fan Run Radio. My name is Basilio. We love you. God bless, and GBO.
You're listening to FM 105.7 and AM 1340. WKGN Knoxville and W289CU Knoxville. Fan Run Radio.
And here we go, live from the White Claw Hard Seltzer Studios. It's the Playbook here live on Fan Run Radio with Brett Holander, Alex Sarkis, and Garrett Armbrust filling in once again today for William Pattison in a cloudy Knoxville, Tennessee. A warm Knoxville, Tennessee, but a little cloudy. So hopefully everyone's having a great day today. Brett, how are we doing today?
Good, man. First day of Lent. I was on the show yesterday, and I was talking about what I was going to, some of the options I had to give up, and none of them I spoke of, but I had to give up. I gave up popcorn. Popcorn is something I do every night for as long as I can remember. It's something I absolutely love, and unfortunately, it's something I'm just going to put away for 40 days. It starts to weigh on the body as I've gotten older. You eat your bag of popcorn, and then you go to bed. It's not good. Things like that. So I did that, and William's not on the show, but he is here today. So at least he's on the road to recover even more than he had been. I can only imagine, knock on wood, I haven't had to deal with what he had to deal with the last few days. So good to at least see him in the building. And, I think his plan is to be back here on the show tomorrow. So, but yeah, other than that, doing well. Ready for today's show. Got a lot to discuss.
Indeed so. Alex, how we doing?
Good, Garrett. Obviously, me and you just coming from class. We had Josh Elander come in to talk to us today. He was nice enough, so that was pretty cool. Me and Garrett got some questions in just about the state of college baseball and everything like that, so that was neat. But on the Olympic hockey front, that's where my mood starts to dim because Sidney Crosby has left the game and is out of the game for Canada here in the third period. And, man, what a great one we have over here between the Canada and the Czech Republic. So good hockey.
Now, did Tony V come to classes and stuff? Was you guys may not hear if he did, or is that a common, like where a coach will come in?
This is for Gene's class.
Okay.
Gene Wojciechowski, and he's
okay.
So he's got
some pool.
He's got the pool.
Okay, got you.
I don't.
When you say the name Gene, that doesn't.
Yeah, I don't know if Tony ever came to class, but
that makes sense. That it was
he was.
Man.
That's
pretty cool.
We've had some great guests. We had Tom Rinaldi come in and talk to us earlier this year. So
Mike Wilbon was in my class last semester.
Yeah,
really.
We've had a fair share of big time. Yeah,
he's fantastic. I mean, he is one of the best classes I've taken, and we're only 3 weeks in.
Elander, was he the same as we know him as, I guess? And
I would say
just real open, I guess.
Yeah, I would say, very open about his family and all that, and really great guy. I mean, just a fantastic guy.
Yeah,
so,
I figured as much, but that's cool.
Yeah. So
how are you today, Garrett? I guess we have to ask.
Yeah. No, I'm doing good. Hanging in there with the weather mood. Not as sunny as the past couple of days, but we're staying in the 60s. Excited for the Vols game tonight. Looking for
some
another
good basketball
win.
last night. I'm sure you took in as well.
Yeah, tried to watch the end of that Arizona State Texas Tech game. Fell asleep right before JT Toppin got injured. So that was definitely tough news to wake up to this morning. Thought the Purdue Michigan game delivered.
Michigan's
incredible right now.
Yeah.
Watched some college baseball. Went to the baseball game
nice.
Last night. So I know we'll talk about that in a bit. And then obviously the Lady Vols game that was on last night. A little bit of a situation there in the post-game handshake with Kim Caldwell and the Ole Miss coach. But, we'll discuss that here in a few minutes. But, we're going to start off with, this whole Joey Aguilar situation, obviously accepting his invite to the Combine. And so Tennessee quarterback Joey Aguilar obviously hoping to receive a favorable ruling in the Knox County Court that would allow him to play an additional season for the Vols next season, but will attend the NFL Combine next week. Sources told On3's Chris Lowe. Aguilar had already received a Combine invitation according to sources, but it wasn't made public as he undergoes the process of trying to return to Tennessee for another collegiate season. Aguilar and his legal team appeared obviously in the Knox County Chancery Court last Friday with Chancellor Chris Haggerty and said he would issue a ruling in, quote, short order on whether Aguilar would be granted a temporary injunction against the NCAA's eligibility rules for former junior college players. And then Aguilar's plan is to attend the Combine for only a 48-hour window next week instead of the normal 5-day window so that he doesn't jeopardize any of his eligibility, sources said. Even if Aguilar does receive favorable ruling from Haggerty this week, Aguilar still plans to attend the Combine for only 2 days in case the ruling is overturned on the appeal. So, where I stand on this is just a guy that's trying to protect his future. Obviously, he knows that his chances are up in the air of whether he's the Tennessee quarterback next season or if he's going to give professional football, a go right here in the draft. So I think, like I said, this is just a guy protecting everything that he has in his future. He wants NFL scouts and GMs that are looking into the NFL draft to know who he is, what his game is. I have nothing wrong with this. What are your guys' thoughts on this situation?
It's interesting because, he also thought he had this, I guess his arm's good.
Yeah.
Tells you he's must be healthy. I'd imagine he's going to the Combine, at least going to go in those couple days where they throw and things like that. I had no idea how long these players are actually there for. When I had no idea players were there for 5 days. I automatically assume maybe a couple days, but when there's so many teams, and especially for a guy like him, where he's probably on the fence of being a 7th round draft pick, undrafted guy, he's probably got to meet with multiple teams because the top guys, it's really 1 or 2 teams that are even in the play for you. So that was interesting, no doubt about it. It made me think that maybe there is some news coming that maybe he's not going to be eligible too. When you first see it, that he's always going to the combine, maybe he's not going to be eligible to play next year. So, yeah, there was a lot of different things running through my head, but I think you're ultimately right. I think it's just to protect his future, and I'm sure he will give the NFL at least a go and see if he can get picked up by somebody. I don't know what our thoughts on if he's a draftable guy or not. I know the class isn't very strong as a quarterback, at top end at least, stuff like that. So, yeah, but I think you hit the nail on the head. It's just to protect his future, and I hope he, we ultimately hope he's eligible, but I'd love to see him prepare for his future as well.
Yeah. And obviously that's something that, and Alex, I'll let you talk about this, but this was a guy that played through, a benign tumor in his arm through much of the second half of the season. So, as much as the throwing the football is a factor in the combine, you're also working with GMs and owners. You're watching film. You're showing those people your football IQ, not just, how you can deliver, football into a window or what you do on the field. Off the field, what you're seeing with plays and different reads, that's just as important to GMs and owners as well.
I think you've seen, too, you make a good point with, kind of that IQ thing, because we've seen those tests play a big deal. Remember Shedeur Sanders last year?
Sure. Yeah.
Projected to be maybe the first quarterback off the board, and then boom, he drops all the way. So those tests can be a big deal. And I think Joey has shown, we know he had that issue, but I think he's got that IQ that you look for in a veteran guy. That's why he got the job at Tennessee. That's why he was able to come from App State and lead the SEC in passing yards. So I think, you've definitely got that veteran guy in there. Can you do it on a level physically? Like you said, Brett, this feels like a weak quarterback class, and so maybe that helps him. But I think it's the smart thing to do with him going to the combine, and with all the issues he had late in the year. You might as well and give it a chance. We'll see what happens here in court. But you might as well.
Sources close to the situation told On3 that we're at the point where we need to know something sooner as opposed to later, hopefully before the combine starts. We're hopeful, and Joey is hopeful that we get good news, but the combine experience will be helpful for Joey either way. He's not just going to be able to get the full experience like the other quarterbacks attending. And the combine is to begin next Monday and runs through March 2nd at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. Quarterback drills are set for Saturday, February the 28th. So I guess that kind of leads us to our next point. Does this decision by Aguilar change how you feel about the future at Tennessee? Do you feel like this is Aguilar saying, I don't like my odds next season, and this is going to be a GMAC versus Faison QB1 competition? Or are you still kind of where we were on Monday when we did the show where you're feeling 50-50, it could go any way? Brett?
I truly think this is up in the air, 50-50. That was a crazy, we were in here on Friday, and we were just the amount of questions this judge was throwing out. You're thinking of maybe he's just putting on a show to, not show he bleeds orange through and through, and biased and things like that, when it was almost the NCAA's attorney that was almost being more biased than even the judge was, saying, I'm a big Tennessee fan, blah, blah, blah. The word is now there's, I think Adam Sparks came out with an article yesterday talking about how this judge must weigh an antitrust law, that his accusations towards him being a biased Tennessee football fan and possibly opening of Pandora's box, I believe is what he wrote about, and things like that. So that's kind of the last sticking point, I think, in all of this. And, I think this truly is a flip of a coin right now, and it could go either way. I don't have a good feel which way or another. I thought it was more of a sure thing before the trial last week, and now I'm truly am on the fence, and I don't know if it's a good thing that's taken longer or a bad thing that it's taken longer, stuff like that. So this is very flip of the coin-ish to me.
Alex, do you share that same sentiment, or do you look elsewhere?
I don't think I changed my opinion really based on his decision, because this is what he said he was going to do all along. Immediately following the season, he was, said he was going to test the waters of pro ball and see, whether he could come back or not. And I think at that point in time, obviously, I don't think he was as invested in, now the court case that he's involved in. But, I think he's always planned to test the pro waters. And like I said, a few minutes ago, you might as well go to the combine, because who knows, what you can find or what you can show out there. So, that's I don't think it changes my opinion really, but, there could be some underlying meaning.
Buck chiming into the YouTube chat, talk about Mr. Irrelevant, and obviously Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant in the 2022 NFL draft, has gone on to have quite an NFL career, leading the 49ers to a Super Bowl.
Wasn't Quinn Ewers?
He was a late pick, and
I know he's a 7th rounder. I don't know if he's Mr. Irrelevant.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he was. Yeah, I don't know if he was actually the 262nd pick, but he was back there. And I mean, he had some good moments for the Dolphins this season. Obviously, Tom Brady, famously a late round draft pick. I mean, you've seen a lot of guys in the NFL make names of themselves as UDFAs or late round draft picks. Not saying that Aguilar is going to go on to be the next Brock Purdy and lead a team to an NFL Super Bowl appearance, but I mean, if he gets a chance on the right franchise, I mean, you see guys improve their stock. And one thing that we talked about Aguilar over the offseason was his interception problems. And when he came to Tennessee, his turnover rate got much better. He didn't throw as many interceptions. And he still had, a handful this season, but a lot of those interceptions that he threw were on tip drills. And I thought, throughout much of the season, he played good football. And, you're going to have to just test it and see where it goes. But Aguilar underwent surgery in January to remove a benign tumor in his throwing arm that was pushing on his bicep tendon and labrum. Aguilar is ahead of schedule in his rehabilitation and hopes to be declared to start throwing again sometime next month, but won't throw at the combine. Despite the tumor, which caused Aguilar considerable pain and weakness last season, Aguilar still led the SEC in passing yards with over 274 per game and threw 24 touchdowns in his first season at Tennessee after transferring from UCLA in the spring and playing at App State last fall. How much do you think the benign tumor affected Aguilar in that second half of the season, Brett? Do you think that was something? I know you were critical of Aguilar's play a little bit in the second half of the season. Do you think that was something that he just got a little bit worse as the season went on, or do you think it was really the injury that was affecting him, especially, in the bowl game against Illinois? Obviously, he wasn't pushing the ball downfield much. You saw it in the Vanderbilt game, not many explosive plays. So, I mean, how much do you think that injury did affect him?
I mean, I guess you got to think, it has to. Part of you likes to think that maybe it was, the defense adjusting to our offense too, that there was a lot more doubling of Chris Brazell and 2 high safeties, different things like that, keeping us underneath. But, when you think about this, he wasn't even trying a lot of stuff. You saw early in the season, it didn't matter if it was double coverage. Against Georgia, we saw Chris Brazzell make plays. We've seen Mike Matthews make plays downfield. Double coverage, it didn't matter. He was taking those shots. That's the kind of quarterback he is. That's the quarterback we expected coming into the season, that gunslinger mentality. And, you have to think, that it did affect him. You did play a couple of better defenses down the stretch as well. You got to give defenses credit as well. Oklahoma's in there and different things like that. But, you hope to know kind of when this, maybe when this really did start affecting him, because you saw some huge games, Kentucky, different things like that in there as well. But, yeah, I mean, I think it ultimately has, and it could affect his future as far as these teams that might draft him as well, if this is going to be a lingering effect long-term for him. So, but, yeah, I mean, I think it's just a combination of things, but I think it had to affect him somewhat. I mean, I can't only imagine having something like that in your throwing arm not affect you, strength and all that other stuff. So, yeah, I think it 100% probably played a play in this.
Sure. And Alex, obviously, you covered the team pretty close this fall. I mean, what did you make of that situation? Were you surprised when that came out that he had that removed? I mean, how much do you think that played, a factor of his play down the stretch?
I think it was a huge deal. I mean, just looking at his numbers over the last couple games, I mean, his last 4 games, he struggled to get to 200 yards a few times. I mean, really outside of Vanderbilt, when Tennessee was kind of desperate in that game at home, pushing the ball downfield, he was struggling to get to 200 yards, and he had a streak of, getting to 200 yards passing throughout his whole career, and they were getting to points where they were having to, not that they were trying to get that record for him, but, that streak ended against Illinois, and we talked about the play calling, them not pushing the ball down the field. So certainly, I mean, anybody who's played sports and, your arm has issues, and it's tough. It's all you're thinking about most of the time, and definitely had an effect. But, it does say a lot, I think, now that, he's going to the combine. We've touched on that. He feels good enough to do that. So, yeah, it certainly had a big effect, and I think it's one of the reasons that Tennessee struggled down the stretch.
And also, another point that I kind of want to bring up and wonder, does that, the rehab that he's going to have from this, does that affect, your opinion if he does come back and be quarterback 1 next season? Like, do you see any regression or drop off from what you saw? Like, do you expect to see kind of more what you saw the last 3 weeks to month of the season, or do you expect that you're going to see the Aguilar that you saw in the Kentucky game that was throwing, massive amounts of yards, in Georgia where you're pushing the ball downfield to Brazzell? Because obviously you're going to have the receiving room coming back next year. You're going to have Mike Matthews. You're going to have Braylon Staley. You're going to have Radarius Jackson, who's going to see, a bigger load this season. You're going to see TK Keys coming in that freshman class. Like, you're going to have so many targets to be able to throw the ball to. You're just going to have to be able to deliver it to those guys.
Yeah. I mean, if he gets fully healthy and with this offensive line and run game, you got to think our offense, I mean, it could go another step. I mean, which is crazy to think about considering they averaged, 40 points a game last year. And that was with a struggling Aguilar down the stretch, different things like that. There's probably a lot of stuff he's going to clean up, with an off season with Hasley and Heupel and stuff like that. So you expect the offense to possibly be even better. I think Ethan Davis a full plethora of games for him. We saw what a weapon he can be down the stretch. It's amazing that guy wasn't on the field more, with the way he ended the season and things like that. So, and I think your offense is going to be needed. I think the defense will be better, but I think the teams you're playing are going to score points, and you're going to have to be able to put a team out there that's going to be able to have to score points as well. I fully expect him to be fully healthy and things like that. And yeah, I would expect a big offensive performance this year from Tennessee if he's behind center.
Alex?
Yeah, I think he's got some security blankets out there. Ethan Davis is a guy that Brett touched on that I think's, huge because Tennessee really started going to Ethan Davis late in those games. That Florida game, he was their leading receiver and was a big reason that they got up so early in that game. And Braylon Staley, obviously, another guy that, Tennessee really only played 3 receivers all year.
Sure.
So, he's used to throwing to those guys. And I think, he feels very comfortable in his guys to be able to go up and get balls like that. But I think definitely Ethan Davis is a guy for me that if I'm Joey, you're excited to have that guy again because especially with the way that year ended, it feels like that trend's going up pretty steadily. So, yeah, I mean, you have to be confident. And in terms of a drop-off, I don't think that you would necessarily see one because I think if he's healthy enough to go to the combine and show things off for pro scouts, then, he feels good enough that he'd be able to come back and do what he did again in the SEC, especially, you throw in a whole offseason of rehab on top of that. So if he's good enough to go now to the combine, I think he's going to be back to good playing shape by the time fall rolls around.
I guess the one thing about the combine, though, it doesn't say he's throwing.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
But what else? He's just going to – maybe he will throw, but I guess it doesn't say he necessarily is. He's just going up there to go through, some of those quarterbacks don't throw, things like that. So, but maybe he is. I don't know. Maybe he's going to introduce him.
I think showing face is as big as thing, just showing GMs and showing owners and NFL staff who you are and what you're about and just them meeting you and being able to interact with you. I feel like that is almost just as beneficial as throwing to receivers against, a non-live game.
Yeah.
How much can you really get from the combine? Something like that, because, you see guys like, Joe Milton, who was a former Tennessee player, obviously has all the arm strength of, any quarterback in history, really, and gets to the NFL and, can't really see the field of starting time other than the time that he had with the Patriots, but just an athletic specimen. And then, you look at another guy, Richardson that played for the Colts from Florida, Anthony Richardson. Another guy, an athletic freak, but had problems in the NFL. So I don't know how much you can necessarily read into the NFL combine. You see that a lot of guys do improve their stock, though. But how many of those come from the quarterback position?
Yeah, that's a good question. Numbers, when you hear leading passer in the SEC completing almost 70% of his passes, you think first-round draft pick with Joey Aguilar. Don't you guys feel like he has potential to be a drafted quarterback? I don't see what the negatives – what do you think the negatives are on Joey? Size-wise, I feel like he's there.
I'd say age.
Age is definitely
I guess that's true. What is he going to be, 24?
He'll be 25 when the NFL season
I guess that's
starts.
True. I didn't think about the age side
there's older guys. You see Michael Penix be drafted, and the Falcons have moved on to him as their franchise quarterback from Kirk Cousins. And he was drafted around the same age, had multiple season-ending injuries at Indiana and played very well, obviously, this time in Washington. Led his team to a national championship appearance against Michigan. But I would assume age is definitely a factor. Turnovers throughout his career. Obviously we talked about that. He's gotten better at that, but that is something that he's struggled with at App State. Mm-hmm. He had almost as many interceptions as anybody in the nation. And obviously he didn't have the offensive line that he's had at Tennessee and the receiving corps at a G5 school. But that's obviously the tape that scouts are still going to bring up, even if that was 2 years ago.
The turnovers are the age and the turnovers would be the biggest thing for me, like you guys have said. He threw 10 this year. That's not a number you really want to get to. I'd say it's about average, but in the NFL, I mean, we know how these DBs play and just the next level that it gets to. So, yeah, I mean, Brock Purdy was 22 when he went, Mr. Irrelevant. So,
yeah. Well,
we'll see.
I think like the Oklahoma game, there was a couple of bad turnovers in that game that aren't going to help his tape, and I think that's a situation where if he can sit down with scouts and walk through, hey, what was the process of why you threw this ball here when this safety was doing this? What did you see on this read that made you do that? And I think if he can explain himself in a way that makes sense. I mean, obviously, as you said, this quarterback class is not very deep, especially with Trinidad Chambliss returning back to school. Obviously, Fernando Mendoza is going to be QB1. And then, I mean, you don't drop off. Yeah, you don't really know where it goes from there. And obviously, there were guys like Garrett Nussmeier that you thought at the beginning of the season had the chance to be QB1 off this board. Battled injuries, didn't play very well this season. His draft stocks dropped significantly. Now, he did look good in the Senior Bowl that he played in. Obviously, his stock's gone up a little bit since then. But I still see a world where he could get drafted because I just don't think that there's that many quarterbacks in this class that are going to make an NFL, franchise QB.
Yeah, just going like this list I found has Mendoza, Simpson, Nussmeier, Beck, Klubnik, Aller, Taylon Green, Sawyer Robertson. And then you get to like Miller Moss at like 9th quarterback.
And he was not good this season.
I mean, would Joey go ahead of him? Like Jalen Daniels is on there, Cole Payton from, I guess, North Dakota State, and then Pavia.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of, I mean, how many quarterbacks typically go in a draft? Quite a few, things like that. So I could see him making a roster. It's just be a late-round draft pick. I really think somebody would give him a shot, somewhere. But I don't know. I could be wrong.
Well, and I think body type is another thing that NFL likes to see. You see that in the NBA. A lot of people draft guys for not exactly what they're going to be when they're 19, but what they're going to be when they're 24 playing on your team. And obviously the NFL is a little bit different, and with Aguilar's age, that does change things a little bit. But, I mean, Aguilar has a nice frame, 6'3", 225. Taylon Green's another guy that's going to be in that draft class from Arkansas that has big frames, 6'7", 6'5", 6'6", somewhere in there. Taller guy, can make plays on the ground or through the air. So, I mean, I think his body type definitely helps him a little bit. I mean, would you agree with that?
He's bigger than Nussmeier. Nussmeier's 6'1", 200.
Yeah, and obviously Pavia is not even 6 foot. I mean,
I'd say Aguilar has a better tape than what Nussmeier put together this past season.
Well, even look at a guy like Drew Aller. I mean, a guy that physically, highly recruited out of high school. Physically, he's gifted.
He should have went the year before.
Exactly. So that's a guy. I mean, he's been in talks for a lot of teams. I think.
You forget about the Klubnik. Struggled so.
The guys that were so highly recruited in that class didn't have a good year. Obviously, Aller gets hurt. Like those are the guys. That I'm kind of surprised they're ranked that high. But like you said, it's the intangibles. That's a big deal. And I think that like the conversations you have at the combine can be a big deal. I don't know about you guys, but that whole Shedeur Sanders saga was shocking to me last year.
But his was off the field, right? Like if it was just strictly on the field, like he'd been a top 2 quarterback.
Well, exactly. Yeah, but I'm saying the off the field stuff. So if Shedeur Sanders can tank his draft stock like he did through those interviews, then why can't Joey Aguilar at least make a little bit of headway in maybe improving his through those as well? So that's another thing that maybe you could see.
And does it hurt Joey's draft stock more if he comes back another year? Like he's just another year older.
Yeah.
Then we're talking going into the NFL is like he's 26.
Yeah.
And does the team consider if he has a better season, like can he really improve his stock that much going into next year?
Yeah.
With a bit like maybe he does lead us to the playoffs and does have Heisman potential, because I feel like that could be what it takes to ultimately get us to a playoff with this schedule.
Well, and you see, a lot of NFL draft, experts and scouts and whatnot have said this whole Trinidad Chambliss thing has been concerning to them because they're wondering why he doesn't want to go to the NFL. He would have been QB 2 or 3 off the board this season. It would have been Mendoza and then him or Simpson.
Well, and Dante Moore.
And Dante Moore also returning back. So it's like we're at the era in college football where you're making so much money.
That's true.
I mean, Dante Moore, what he's coming back for, I don't remember what the exact number was, but
well, Chambliss is 5. You got to think it's right around
that.
I
think Dante's was closer to between 5 and 7. I think it was around 7 million.
But still, that's like he threw a $60 million guarantee just by being the second draft pick.
Yeah, but
which is crazy.
We're at the point in college football where it's like, if I can make $7 million to improve my draft stock, why wouldn't I?
But can he?
Well, I mean, he's only been the true starting quarterback for one real season. Obviously, at UCLA, he had his moments, but, at Oregon, this was the first time where he was kind of given the keys to the city, per se, and he was the guy from the whole season on. And he, made some very questionable decisions in that Indiana game. And his offensive line, Isaiah World, got blown up in that game, a guy that was the number 1 overall portal guy in the 2025 transfer portal class. He did not look good in the college football playoffs. And Dante Moore obviously had a couple times where his offensive line gave out. But at the end of the day, if you go high in the draft, you're probably not going to go to a team that has a very good offensive line.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I would have learned from what Aller and Klubnik just suffered through. They cost themselves a lot of money. Aller comes back and gets himself hurt.
Yeah.
Klubnik has a miserable season with what we thought was the most talented teams in college football. Their draft stock takes a hit. And I'm not saying that's going to happen to Dante Moore. He could go out and have a Heisman-type season, and he'd be the number 1 pick, But, man, I'm not in his shoes, so I don't know. I don't have the ability to make that kind of money. So, and maybe he just loves the college life too. I mean, I got to imagine being the big man on campus and in the country and make $7 million, get these cars, free housing, whatever it is. It's just, that's just. I mean, that's what college football is, though. Maybe it is enjoyable for him to come back and try and do this again. And plus, the Jets were going to draft him. Ultimately, that's you just go to die there almost. Like Sam Darnold was there. It's crazy to think about. So I don't know. It's going to be it'll be interesting. What ultimately happens with this Joey situation, no doubt.
I mean, I think we all agree that if Aguilar comes back, it gives Tennessee the best path to the playoffs, and especially from everything that we talked about with this wide receiver room, the tight ends that you mentioned, and Ethan Davis, and then the running back room too. I mean, you get Deshaun Bishop coming back, you get Javon Gordon in from Tulane, you're probably going to have DeJuan Morris at RB3. Mm-hmm. Like, you're going to have 2 to 3 solid running backs on the roster. So, I mean, you have all the pieces offensively to win, and if Aguilar comes back, you have the ability to win a lot of games and have a chance to win 10 games and make the college football playoff. So we're going to hit a break here. When we come back, we're going to talk Lady Vols versus Ole Miss and what was another disappointing showdown last night in the SIP. We'll be back after these ads.
For the fans, by the fans, this is Fan Run Radio. Knoxville.
What kind of day is it? It's a White Claw day. Grab a pack, grab your friends, everything else in life can wait. Your friends shouldn't. Let's go. White Claw. Grab life by the claw. Please drink responsibly. Hard seltzer with flavors. White Claw Seltzer Works, Chicago, Illinois.
Fall fans, reimagine your home at Broadway Carpets and Flooring for any remodeling or building needs. With a variety of carpets, rugs, hardwood, vinyl, and stone, Broadway has all the flooring and installation options you're looking for, including pet-resistant products like Pet Perfect Carpet from Shaw Floors. Visit their showroom in downtown Knoxville or the location in West Knoxville located on Kingston Pike near Pellissippi Parkway today.
A brand built in Tennessee and born from the love of the game, Inward Half revolutionizes golfing comfort. Crafted by a former pro and dedicated enthusiast just like you, our luxury performance wear guarantees you stay cool and comfortable through every swing and every day. We're not just a brand. We've set out to create a lifestyle for those who understand that impeccable style and premium performance are a hole-in-one. Enjoy the walk-in with Inward Half.
Smoky Mountain Brewery is the place to be for game day. From the moment you walk in, it's wall-to-wall big screens, making Smoky Mountain Brewery the perfect place to watch the Vols or your favorite team in action. With locations in Turkey Creek, Maryville, Pigeon Forge, and Gatlinburg, you're never far away from a great time at Smoky Mountain Brewery. Try one of their world-famous microbrews like Black Bear Ale, Mountain Light, or Cherokee Ale. Juicy burgers, wings that bring the heat, and delicious handmade pizzas made with hand-tossed crust from the freshest ingredients and their own special sauce from a secret recipe, topped off with hand-grated cheese and farm-fresh toppings. And don't forget, those famous microbrews are also available in kegs for your next party or in 6-packs and growlers to go. So grab your crew and head to Smoky Mountain Brewery and tell them Fan Run Radio sent you. Smoky Mountain Brewery. Eat local, eat good.
The Voluntary Reaction.
Can't get enough Tennessee basketball? Join Fan Run Radio as soon as every UT game is over for Big Orange Country's post-game radio free-for-all. The Voluntary Reaction. We'll be taking your calls on the Vols as soon as every game is over. So tune in and buckle up as we drink from the keg of glory all the way to the Final Four.
The Voluntary Reaction. Raw, unfiltered, real.
All right, back here on Fan Run Radio in the Playbook. Gonna jump into some Lady Vols hoops as number 21 Tennessee headed down to the SIP to face off against number 17 Ole Miss last night, and what was another pretty brutal watch as the Lady Vols fell 94-81 to Ole Miss. Lady Vols now 16-8, 8-4 in the SEC. We're led in scoring by redshirt senior guard Talisha Cooper with 30 points. Another big game for her. What is that? 59 points now in her last two outings. Freshman guard Lauren Hurst contributed a career high 16, while forward Alyssa Latham added another 10. The Rebels, who were paced by a 39-point, 10-rebound double-double from Cody McMahon and Christine Awalu, as Latasha Lattimore were also in double figures with 16 and 14 points respectively, with Lattimore also pulling down 12 boards. And this was another Lady Vols game where it just seemed like you saw the same mistakes show up again. And, I mean, honestly, my biggest takeaway from this game is that your head coach is losing the fan base. And you saw what happened at the end of the game with the handshake over the Ole Miss coach. I don't care if you're competitive and your team just had a 13-point road loss for their second loss in a row and you've lost 4 of your last 6. It's an embarrassing thing to do that at the end of the game. You look the coach in the eye, you shake their hand, you say good game, and you go to the locker room. You can be mad in the locker room all you want. You can get mad at your players, but there's just no reason to do that to the opposing coach. I think it looks bad. I think this Tennessee fan base right now is on thin ice with Kim Caldwell. So, I mean, I'll go to you, Brett, first. I know you watched this game. I mean, just what did you think of the whole situation? I guess we'll get to the game itself first, and then we can discuss the post-game antics after that. But, I mean, just what did you see on the court itself?
Just, I don't know. They're just not a well-coached team. I mean, and it's always been that way. This is her style. It's hectic. It's chaotic. There's mistakes made. There's turnovers and things like that. You know, if they're not pressing, getting steals, there's not much flow to our offense. It's just, you know, one-on-one stuff. It's chucking up threes. It's just a jumbled mess. And, you know, like, you know, Talisha Cooper, I think is playing with a lot of heart right now. She's trying her best to lift this team. She's not getting help from your other good players. Dee Spearman's been a mess. I think she ultimately got benched last night for a girl that wanted to be out there, and honestly, I think fits the system. And this is the type of player Coach Kim needs in her system, is this Lauren Hurst girl. You know, a big girl, not a big girl, but a size-wise 6'2", can obviously shoot the ball, plays hard, and keeps it simple and things like that. And it's just a tough look for Lady Vols right now. You know, you think you're turning a corner just because you start to play with some heart, but now you're seeing like these antics in their comments and post game, and now not even being a coach of some character and just storming off, and it's just a bad look. The Lady Vols program is much more than what she's showing right now, and it's almost being disrespectful. And I think any backlash she's getting is warranted. And I think it's only going to get worse from here. Honestly, you got a must-win game next, and then the next 3 are just brutal after that. So, but for the game itself, it is what it is. This is what we've kind of signed up for and expected. But you know, outside of Talisha Cooper and Lauren Hurst, it was just very disappointing overall. And you know, just kind of no fight. You know, 95 points is crazy to give up in a college basketball game for a women's that play quarters, you know. So, yeah, it was a tough game, tough night last night for the Vols.
And this was another game where we talked about this after they lost to Texas on Sunday. Texas won that game without hitting a three-pointer. And Ole Miss in this game only hit 3 of them. So, I mean, you've given up a lot of points in the last 2 games for teams to only have
just foul.
Three points. Yeah,
we foul like crazy.
That was something we talked about in the Texas game. I think they had north of 40 free throw attempts. And then in this game, Ole Miss had 36 free throw attempts, and you only have 15. So
it doesn't matter. You outscored them by 30 points from the three-point line because they outscored you by 30 from the foul, which is a much easier shot.
And when the discrepancy is that much at the foul line, it's hard to win games. It's very hard to win games when you're gifting the other team an extra 18 points at the free throw line. Alex, what do you think about this defensive effort? Obviously, you have girls on this team that are playing with heart, but there's some misconnect that's happening on the court right now.
There is, and Josh Pate always does his padlock stats. And to me, you look at those 29 fouls, that's it. You look at the free throws. It's undisciplined, and you can't go on the road and do that. And, that's, to me, a reflection of your coach. And it's pretty wild to me that we've seen this kind of steep decline of Kim Caldwell here, because last year you saw a lot of positives. This year even, starting SEC play, you're 5-0. And now, obviously, this is a rough stretch, and, you lose some players due to injury, but, they've been embarrassed. And it feels, a little wild to say that in year two of Kim Caldwell with, some of her, girls that she's recruited in here. So it is a bit shocking to me as somebody who covered this team a little bit last year, just to see the decline. And now you're seeing it bleed through to the media and post game. It feels like it's turning into a dumpster fire for one of the most respected programs in women's basketball. So yeah, it's Tennessee losing in ways that they're not used to losing in. And, but you can't commit 29 fouls and, the Z Spearman thing. 1 for 11 from the field and you get benched because of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's there's a lot of issues. And, you can talk about culture. You can talk about, starting the year off bad with the whole Ruby Whitehorn situation. It has not been good really in this program culture wise, I feel, really for the whole season, even though they were playing, pretty well to start the year. So it's stunning to me a little bit.
Yeah, we appreciate everybody also on the YouTube chat chiming in. Brandon Speak says there's a good chance that we don't reach 20 wins. This team is at 16 wins now. The rest of this regular season doesn't get any much easier. And then when you get in the NCAA tournament, obviously it's going to be tough.
And I think that's on the fence. I really do. NCAA tournament might be on the fence. If you don't get 20 wins, you're talking 16 and 12, 17 and 11, and you're almost 500 in conference. I don't know. Maybe they do, but it's just crazy because they start 4 seniors last night. They have a good mix of young and experienced players, and to not put better, do something to stop this girl from just killing. She was just going down the lane, all willing, foul her hard, do something. It's just, I don't know. It's crazy, and this team's kind of bankrolled by Danny, but Kim's got to do, if she's lucky enough to get another year, she's got to do something to this roster and make it fit her style. If you want to be a 3-point shooting team, get some 3-point shooters in here, because you don't. You shot 10 of 24, which actually is not terrible for 3-pointers, but there's just a lot of wrong right now with this Lady Vols team.
Well, it didn't take long for the video of Ole Miss's women's basketball coach, Coach Yo, and Lady Vols head coach Kim Caldwell's post-game exchange and the handshake line to make rounds on social media. Fans noticed how quickly Caldwell moved past Coach Yo, ensuing laughter from Rebels head coach after Tennessee lost 98-81 in Oxford. Coach Yo didn't shy away from addressing her post-game press conference either. When she was asked about it, she shrugged it off. Nothing that she does like Caldwell, and there's no hard feelings. She just thinks Caldwell was probably ready to get out of there and said, quote, "I think she was probably just ready to go." Because I like him. Sometimes I don't ever take stuff like that personally because emotions were competitive. She's at Tennessee, and there's a lot of history behind the place. So maybe she was in a rush, or maybe she was upset. I respect both of them. For me, I was just glad that we got the win. And I touched on it a minute ago, but with everything that's going on within this program, and the fan base has already been on thin ice regarding how Vitello left, and a lot of people were saying that the women's basketball team is getting the funding. I don't think that's true. First of all, I think that was a decision that Vitello made to move on to the Giants on his own. I think that the Lady Vols have gotten a lot of slack on social media, for their play and saying, this is what we signed up for. This is why Vitello lost. This is why Vitello left. It doesn't matter. Vitello is gone. The women's basketball team is the most historic sporting team at this university. We don't need to have that divide between those two programs. But when you have the fan base on thin ice because of that, and your coach is doing things like this where she seems like she's up over her skis, and she's rushing a post-game handshake at the end, I don't think it looks good. I don't think it's a good look for your coach. I don't think it's a good look for your athletic director. I don't think it's a good look for your university. It's definitely not a good look for your team. So, Alex, how bad of a look do you think this was for Caldwell? And do you applaud the way Coach Yo handled it post-game, saying that she didn't take too much offense to it?
I think you got to applaud Coach Yo post-game because I think she gave Tim Caldwell a pass with those comments. I mean, she could have easily, you saw the way she reacted on the floor, but, probably had some time to cool down once she got in the media room. But, no, you have to respect those comments afterwards. And, obviously, for Kim, just a really bad look. I mean, when you represent a program with that many national championship banners, with the legacy of Pat Summitt, that's not something that I'm sure Pat Summitt would have wanted to see after a game, and that you don't do that when you represent such a storied program. So, like you said, with all the Vitello things, I agree with you. I mean, I don't think, and Danny White came out and said, during the press conference after Vitello left, basically, that's not true, but really the fan base is looking for reasons at this point to get upset, and they're going to go to that one, I think, a lot.
Yeah.
So not a good look, and I'm a bit surprised, that at this point we're saying, oh, man, hot seat talk, but you have to, because look at it's the behavior, and now it's transformed into the play. I mean, this is how you lose your job, so we'll see what happens.
Well, and I think a lot of people, too, when Kelly Harper left and you hire Caldwell, it was fresh air. Caldwell was a young face that not a lot of people, knew much about, was coming from the mid-major ranks, had teams that, score a lot of points, and, you go on a little bit of a run last season and, in the NCAA tournament, and the start of this season gets off to a pretty good start. But with all these things happening, and the biggest thing is it just looks like the team doesn't really enjoy playing for her. So, I mean, Brett, do you think that she's losing, faith in the team too? Because obviously the fan base is on thin ice. I mean, do you think the players are on thin ice with her as well?
I mean, yeah. To me, it goes both ways, because as a player, you want to go out there and compete and play hard because it's a sport you love, and they're fortunate they're getting paid a good bit of money to go and play. And they got Tennessee Lady Vols written across their chest. They've got to have a little more pride, whether you want to respect your coach or not. I think the locker room is lost. Honestly, I don't know if it necessarily started with the Ruby Whitehorn thing. I think we all agree that she did the right thing. She gave the girl another chance after the initial mistake, and this is how she repaid her, by going out and getting in trouble again. She did the right thing, moving on, kind of like we applauded Heupel for what he did. So that I don't think is anything wrong, but and if those players think it's wrong, that's on them. But I think it's blatant. You can see that they don't respect her. I think that's who are you? You came from Marshall, and things like that. So yeah, I think you can see it on the court by the play. To get blown out and embarrassed on so many different national stages and things like that. That I think it's obvious that she's really lost this. The team has lost faith in her, and I ultimately don't know if she knows what she's doing at this point. She just, like I said, her style of play, and if that's not working, does she have a backup plan? It just seems like she doesn't have much up her sleeve outside of going fast, playing chaotic, and things like that. So yeah, I think she's ultimately, and if it hasn't, then it's about to pretty quickly, and it may result in her possibly losing her job.
And I mean, do you think that the playing style, obviously she's one to substitute players in and out of the game really faster than maybe any other coach in America.
And she hasn't really done that as much this season, I don't feel like. That's one change she's made. I mean, you see we got 3 girls play over 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't remember that ever happening very often.
Yeah, and it seems like, though, if you're going to do that, like if that's what you've been known to do throughout your career, you kind of got to stick to one thing, and maybe that's just her saying, I went up, this worked at mid-major ball, but when I go up and play in the SEC, you can't do that. And maybe that's her just learning, the intricacies of coaching in the SEC, or is that her not as maybe being only confident in a certain amount of players that she feels comfortable having them on the court for most of the game?
I just think it's one of those things, like, she may not have how to coach these type of individuals, these players, these high-ranked 5 stars that come in with, all this talent and, just think they can roll a ball out there and go play. Her most successful team was with, like I said, the Pucketts, the Tess Darbys, players like that, the lesser-known players, but they go out and play hard. They fit a system. They shoot the ball really well, things like that. Like, she just went overboard with trying to blend so many top-end girls, and it's backfired. Because on paper, going into the season, I was excited as anybody. I thought we got more athletic. I thought her style of play might work a little better. I thought maybe we would attack the rim more because we lacked some shooting and get some easier baskets, get to the free throw line, and it's been the exact opposite of what I expected this season, especially with the way the first season went, because it kind of came out of nowhere, and you thought, all right, we're building on this. Here comes a good recruiting class. You got Janiyah Barker in here, things like that. You expected a lot better. And, and then all the stuff starts trickulating about, Danny's funding them. That's why Tony left, and that's put people on edge. So there's a lot going against this woman right now. And the way she's showing this classless, from the quitting comments to this shaking of hand stuff, it's like I said, this is not good at all right now for this Lady Vol program.
But, and Alex, I'll get you in on this one quickly. Do you think there was like a turning point when this happened? Because obviously, the Mississippi State game was alarming when she said the team was late to shoot around. But then, you were still you still are. You're still beating the SEC opponents that you're supposed to. You beat Georgia in overtime. You obviously destroy a Missouri team and Kelly Harper's return back. But where do you think like the turning of the page was, where you kind of had a question mark of like what are we doing here? Obviously, you get blown out by UConn and South Carolina. You've lost to Texas now recently too. Like, was there a moment for you that was concerning?
It's without a doubt the quitting comment. I mean, if you've been a player on any team, if your coach says, not even to your face, to the media, say, yes, I got a team that quits on me. Not only do you take that personally, but that is going to be in the back of your head. I don't care what else they say, to try and mend things. Like, that's just something you don't say as a coach. And that's, if I was on that team, that'd be in the back of my head. I don't cover the team, but I would love to just see what their practices look like. Yeah. Because, you hear about Rick Barnes' practices. Like, he's hard on the guys, and he gets on guys almost more than anybody in the country according to his players. And, I've been to a few practices, and you see that. But, and Kim Caldwell at a few of hers last year, I mean, it seemed kind of the same thing, but what's changed? And maybe I'll have to talk to some of the guys we have covering that, but it's stunning just to see how, her style is translated to year 2, because she's got, her class, year 1 taking over a lot of Kelly Harper's product. You would think that, they might even struggle a little bit, but they got to a Sweet 16. And so this year, now you're on the bubble with a lot of the girls that she brought in. So it did backfire, getting in these high recruits. But, you don't see too many situations in sports where it feels too far gone, especially at a program like this. But right now, it feels too far gone.
Yeah, and it's all just happened so quickly.
Yeah.
But Tennessee will return to Knoxville, and we'll have a quick turnaround as they prepare to host Texas A&M on Thursday night. So the Lady Vols and the Aggies will be set to meet at Food City Center at 6:30 p.m. The contest will be broadcasted on SEC Network Plus and also carried on the Lady Vols radio network stations, with audio streaming available on utsports.com. The Lady Aggies come in 3-9 in SEC play, 10-11 overall. Obviously, this is a game that you're going to be expected to win. This is going to be a game that you're going to be expected to win on your home court in dominating fashion, in which you've done against lesser opponents. Obviously, a must-win, as Brett said. You're going to have to win probably a couple games down the stretch against really good opponents if you want to get a decent seeding in the NCAA tournament. And if you want to make sure that you definitely make the tournament, you definitely can't be losing to any teams like this coming down the stretch. But we're going to hit a break here, and when we return, we'll talk more of the men's team coming back to face Oklahoma tonight. You're listening to The Playbook on Fan Run Radio.
Catch up with all things Fan Run by subscribing to our podcast feed. Like, rate, and download the show from the Fan Run app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jacob Wilco at Knoxville Smiles. Have you ever wanted to improve the look of your smile? We know firsthand what the power of a great smile means to a person's confidence and health. Our team of doctors can provide you with an array of options for helping you achieve your cosmetic goals. From simply moving teeth into a better position, to reversible cosmetic bonding, to full mouth implant supported dentures. It is our goal to help patients feel good about their appearance while achieving optimal health. Want to learn more? Call us at 865-539-1776 to schedule an evaluation or visit us online at knoxvillesmiles.com.
Hi, this is Bo Kregner from the Kregner Group of Realty Executives, and I know there's a lot of choices here in East Tennessee when it comes to choosing a realtor. Here's why the Kregner Group is different. At the Kregner Group, our motto is walking by faith, serving others. It's how I live my life, it's how I run my business. Here at the Kregner Group, we're committed to doing real estate the right way. Faith, honesty, integrity. The Kregner Group. Call me anytime at 865-742-1035 or visit my website at bonoshouses.com.
Welcome to Axle Logistics, where excellence isn't just a goal, it's an energy. As a leading third-party logistics company, Axle is powered by an award-winning culture built on a work-hard, play-hard mentality. Here, the drive for success is contagious and hard work never goes unnoticed. Whether you're just starting out or looking to level up, Axle Logistics is the place to launch your career. Join us and take your ambition to the stars. To learn more, visit axlelogistics.com.
When Rocky Top hit rock bottom,
multiple reports now that UT is in the process of hiring Greg Schiano as its next football coach.
A fan base's livelihood flashed before its eyes.
I mean, if there's anything inside you that still cares about the university, get down to campus right now and make your voice heard.
And then we said enough is enough.
John Reed is on the steps of the training center and he's rallying the troops with a bullhorn.
Hell no, CIO! Hell no, CIO!
From the ashes, we rose up, the fan base that started a revolution and the station that led the charge.
Getting reports from within the athletic department that the deal is off. Pretty connected guy saying the deal is off. That was a direct quote.
When the time came, you were ready.
We are starting a revolution that says we're not going to take this shit from you anymore.
For the fans that refuse to settle,
we have successfully shut this down today.
This is Fox Sports Knoxville.
We are the caretakers now.
Fan Run Radio.
Joe cracked the door. All right, we're back here on the Playbook Fan Run Radio, weekdays 1 to 3 here. You can listen to us on the app at Fox Sports Knoxville Fan Run Radio. You can check us out on YouTube, Twitter, all the different streaming services that you choose. We're going to talk a little bit SEC basketball for a second as we get to the end of hour one, just kind of going around the league. There's 3 games last night. Not really too many of massive importance. You had LSU and Texas, obviously. Texas wins in a close one there. And then you had a unexpected result, I guess you could say, Georgia beating Kentucky. Blue Kane going for 20 points again last night for Georgia. He's been their leading scorer 2 games in a row now. Just another game that Kentucky drops. It seems like everybody can beat Mark Pope except for us right now. And then South Carolina and Florida. Florida wins that game by 14 points, maybe not as dominating as you would have expected. I think the spread was north of 21, 22 points, but still Florida looking as hot as any team in the SEC right now. And, we've talked about it. If they have good guard play, they could make a Final Four and really, I think, the best hope for the SEC in the NCAA tournament. So quickly to you guys, any surprises from last night or anything that you observed in league play?
Just Texas remains hot, I guess. They won 5 in a row.
Yeah.
There's not really, like you said, there's not much to speak on. It is a shocking result. Kentucky, Georgia, for sure. Georgia had been struggling. Kentucky, who knows? They're Jekyll and Hyde, except when they play us, So it's just, that was simple night, I guess, but I don't really have any huge takeaways from last night overall.
Yeah, I thought, obviously the Kentucky game was a surprise. Watching the end of that one, you were ready for Kentucky to, hit that big 3, the big Colin Chandler 3, which he did hit 6 last night.
Yeah.
And Owe went off again, 28 points. But you were waiting for Kentucky to turn it on like they did against Tennessee, and that never really came, and Georgia kind of cruised in the end of that one.
Yeah, that's a big win for Georgia, too, for their NCAA hopes, because, they were, I think, projected an 11 seed going into last night.
Yeah.
You would expect that probably bumps them up at least 1 or 2 spots. Last year, they were kind of right on the bubble, ends up getting Gonzaga in the first round, gets blown out. I don't know how good this Georgia team is. I don't think they can make a second weekend or anything. But for a team like them that's been, not a very good program over the last decade, to make 2 NCAA tournaments in a row would be nice for their program. So interesting to see where they go. But we're going to hit another break here. On the other side, we're going to talk about Tennessee basketball as they host Oklahoma tonight, an Oklahoma team that has been scoring points pretty well over the course of the last few games. And then we'll get into the Tennessee-UNC Asheville result from yesterday in baseball. We'll be back here on the Playbook live on Fan Run Radio.
Or X, or whatever the they're calling it these days, at Fox Sports Knox, Fox Sports Knoxville, Fan Run Radio.
Blackford Veterinary Surgery Referral specializes in surgeries not regularly performed by your pet's general veterinarian. They're currently accepting referrals from vets all across the country. With their newly renovated state-of-the-art surgery center and highly trained staff, clients can rely on professional and thorough care. If your vet says that your pet needs surgery or rehab, ask for a referral to Blackford Vet and let them get your best friend back on its feet. Located conveniently in West Knoxville. For more information, visit blackfordvetsurgery.com. At Knoxville Insurance Group, they understand the challenges many consumers face when searching for insurance coverage. That's why whether it's for you, your family, or your business, they create a coverage plan specifically for your unique needs. Knoxville Insurance Group is an independent firm, which means they aren't beholden to just one insurance company. They search multiple companies, acting as your negotiator to find you the best possible policy and price. Start a quote in minutes at KnoxvilleInsuranceGroup.com or call them today at 865-694-9788.
Snakes, zombies, sharks, heights, speaking in public. The list of fears is endless. But while you're clutching your blanket in the dark, wondering if that sound in the hall was actually a footstep, the real danger is in your hand, when you're behind the wheel. And while you might think a great white shark is scary, what's really terrifying and even deadly is distracted driving. Eyes forward, don't drive distracted. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
At Knoxville Insurance Group, they understand the challenges many consumers face when searching for insurance coverage. That's why whether it's for you, your family, or your business, they create a coverage plan specifically for your unique needs. Knoxville Insurance Group is an independent firm, which means they aren't beholden to just one insurance company. They search multiple companies, acting as your negotiator to find you the best possible policy and price. Start a quote in minutes at KnoxvilleInsuranceGroup.com or call them today at 865-694-9788.
eBay Motors is here for the ride. Go ahead, feel your engine. Admire that perfectly installed exhaust. Your vehicle's moving along this freeway like it was made from fresh installs and a whole lot of love. With eBay Motors, you get over 122 million parts to keep it running. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, they'll be the perfect fit every time. Plus, at these prices, well, we're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
You're listening to FM 105.7 and AM 1340, WKGN Knoxville, and W289CU Knoxville. Fan Run Radio.
Running a business, coaching a team, planning your next big event, you need more than just gear. You need SM Athletics and Logo Solutions. Custom uniforms, branded apparel, promotional products, done right, done fast, and built to show off your brand with pride. From local businesses to high schools to major universities, SM Athletics is trusted by winners. Get real service, get real quality, get noticed. SM Athletics and Logo Solutions, where your brand comes to life.
Visit smathletics.com and let's build something great together.
Barley's has live music on weekends, general team trivia on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m., and now live sports trivia courtesy of the Knoxville Trivia Guys every Thursday night upstairs. The game starts at 7 p.m. and is free to play for everyone, so head on down to the Old City and show off your sports knowledge and win gift cards to Barley's. Use those gift cards to buy some delicious food and drinks, and you can take it all in with their wide selection of TVs and indoor projectors. Barley's Tap Room and Pizzeria.
All right, we're back here on the Playbook here on Fan Run Radio, starting off hour 2. Great hour 1 that it was a few moments ago. Great job to the crew getting us started here on this gloomy Wednesday afternoon here in Knoxville. Almost said Friday. Wish it was Friday, but it's still Wednesday. We're halfway ththrough the week. And we got the Tennessee Vols hosting Oklahoma tonight in Food City Center as the 18-7 and 8-4 at SEC play. Tennessee men's continue their 2025-2026 slate Wednesday, facing the Oklahoma Sooners 13-12, 3-9 at SEC play at Food City Center. Tip-off is set for 7 p.m., and fans can watch Wednesday's game on ESPN2 and stream it on the ESPN app. We'll have Matt Shoemaker and Richard Hendricks will have the call. As we do with every game during the college basketball season, we're going to go do our KenPom breakdown, where Tennessee right now sits at 19 overall, 39 in adjusted offense, and 16 in adjusted defense. Over the Sooners are the 53rd overall, 26 on adjusted offense, and 155th on adjusted defense. Obviously, that 155 adjusted defensive number sticks out, as that is not a very good number defensively at all. But keys to this game, I think I look at this Oklahoma team, and I talked about it a minute ago. They've scored 90-plus points in back-to-back games. I think that they're a little bit of a better team than their record indicates. Obviously, they have one of the worst defenses in the SEC, but they can score points with almost anybody in the league, and they're playing pretty good recently. Obviously, they came off a win this past Saturday against Georgia by 16 points. That was the team that we talked about a few minutes ago. Georgia went on the road and beat Kentucky last night, and then they have a win last Saturday, I guess 2 Saturdays ago, where they beat Vanderbilt at Vanderbilt, which, I mean, that's one of the better wins in SEC play all season, to go to Vanderbilt's arena and win that one 92-91. Now, before that, they had a massive losing streak, but a lot of those games came down to the wire. They lost to Arkansas by 4. They lost to Missouri by 1 in OT. They lost to Alabama by 2. So a lot of those games, one tip basket goes the other way, or one possession goes the other way. You could be looking at a different result, and this team, instead of being 3-9 in conference play, could be 6-6 or 5-7. And I think that this is a team that you can't take too lightly. You can't be looking ahead to this weekend when you're playing your rival in Vanderbilt and Nashville. You got to get this done tonight. And it looks like J.P. Estrella is going to be doubtful tonight, unless I've missed something, and he's been completely ruled in a certain direction, but it seems like you're not going to have him tonight. So you're going to have to be good with those bunnies that you've been missing a lot this season, the easy shots right next to the rim. You're going to have Jalen Carey be good. You're going to have Dwayne Brown probably play some extended minutes and play good ball. And you've seen him throughout this season. He's rose to the occasion in a lot of these games where he's been needed, and he scored 8 to 10 points and given you some boards. And Estrella is obviously a guy that can give you, over the past 5 to 6 games, he's given you 10 to 12 points consistently. And we've talked about his defense as a little bit of a liability, but to have a big man like that be able to score is something that we haven't necessarily seen from anybody else. So this is a game where I think we need to see Gillespie get back to his old self from what we saw earlier in the season. We talked about how he's been settling for threes a little bit. He hasn't been getting to the rim as much as we would like. Didn't even attempt a free throw in the last game. I would like to see him attack the rim more. This is a bad defensive team. If you attack the rim, they're probably going to foul you, or you're going to have a lane to get there. So this is a game where I see Nate Ament and Gillespie taking over this game, your 2-star players going out there and giving you combined 50 points. I think that can happen tonight. I think Nate can give you 25. Gillespie can give you something in the low 20s. I just see that with this Oklahoma defense, you can expose them in multiple different ways. And even if you take the ball out of Gillespie and Ament's hands, I think you can get it to some of the other guys on this team. We'll see what Ethan Berg, if he plays tonight. Obviously, he was effective in the last game against LSU. 8 points, came off the bench and hit two big threes in the first half. So interested to see how much he plays tonight. But as much as you want to see those, scores coming off the bench and the guys around you, I truly think this is a game where Ament and Gillespie can go out there and show out. But interested to see what you guys think.
Yeah, I mean, you're pretty accurate on all that. I think you need Gillespie more than anything. As I've been saying, the numbers look okay, but the eye test just says he's been struggling. I feel like you've really had some guys step up. This Estrella thing's a bigger deal than I think we're leading on. I think this could be a huge loss tonight. I'm surprised the number is still as big as it is with a loss like that, because he's been your third most consistent scorer these last 4 or 5 games. And you're telling me you're taking a guy that's about 15-10 over his last 4 off the board. You wonder do you trust the Boswells to go out there and get you that 10? Or Berg, is he going to surprise us again with another 8? I think this comes down to what your complementary pieces do, because our defense is it's going to be there. You don't like the fact that you only forced 3 turnovers from an LSU team without their main ball handlers, things like that. Oklahoma's guards are pretty good, and so I think they're going to cause problems, things like that. LSU might have shown a chink in the armor by going zone a little bit, so hopefully we're a little bit prepared for that. And people are going to get some open looks. Can we knock them down? Different things like that. Oklahoma has played a lot better. They're coming in with some confidence. I think you gained some confidence by winning on the road at Vandy and seeing LSU come in here and compete. I wonder what our energy level is. I thought, I was, fortunate enough to be in the house for that LSU game, and I thought the crowd was, in and out of it at times over the course of the game. You saw the bench trying to get the guys going and things like that, which isn't a great sign. So I just wonder what the energy level is going to be like. You're playing another bottom feeder of the league, and you're really on the, it's so bunched up where you are in the conference right now. One loss can bump you out of that double bye right now and things like that. So there's a lot riding on this game, especially the Vandy on Saturday. So, I'm just looking at, I think the main focus for me is going to be Gillespie going into tonight, because I think he's going to have to be bigger with this. When you hear a guy's doubtful, you pretty much think he's going to be out unless something dramatic changes today. But, I think my eyes are going to be focused on Gillespie, and if he might have to drop a 20-plus to really, ultimately I think this is going to be closer than we think tonight.
Yeah, well, last year was the first SEC contest between the two sides as Oklahoma joined the SEC. The Vols shot 60.4% in a 70-52 road victory on February 8, 2025, where Chaz Lanier led the Vols with 21 points. And the Tennessee and Oklahoma only had one prior meeting, which was on December 13th, 1968. Y'all remember that one, right? Where Tennessee won the game 55-49 in the Volunteer Classic at Stokely Athletic Center. Last season, coming off a 20-14, 6-12 SEC year that placed Oklahoma as an NCAA tournament bid. The Sooners were the 12th seed in the 2025, placed as the number 12 team in the 2025-26 SEC preseason poll. Junior guard Xavier Brown tops Oklahoma at 16.1 points per game and over a steal per game. Looking at the statistics of this team, this is going to be kind of similar to what we saw in LSU. LSU was a team that was not very good, but they had 4 guys on their team that averaged over 10 points per game. That's what you're going to get from Oklahoma. Xavier Brown averages 16. Nigel Pack averages 16. Tay Davis averages 13. And Darian Reed averages 11.5. So you have 4 guys that can score. And this is what we talked about also last week, was Mississippi State was a team that also kind of in this range of the bottom tier of the SEC, but they have one guy on their team in Hubbard that goes out there and gives you 20, 25 points per game. Oklahoma and LSU have 4 guys that kind of rotate the ball around and facilitate the offense between those guys. They don't really have a whole lot of bench depth, but they have, they have 4 guys that any of them could give you 20 points in a game. So I look at you to this, Alex. Is this an offense that kind of scares you, especially with you've seen over the course of the past couple of weeks, teams going on runs against Tennessee? You saw Kentucky go on a run a few weeks ago. You saw other teams go on a run. You saw Mississippi State go on the 18-0 run, cut a 23-point deficit to a 5-point deficit. Does, the runs that teams have gone on mixed in with the caliber of scoring that Oklahoma has, but having a lopsided defense from them, does that scare you at all with the pace that they're probably going to play at in this game?
I think it has to a little bit, because, you saw this movie when they went to Vanderbilt a few weeks ago and pulled off one of the bigger upsets we've seen this season. And especially now with JP's status being up in the air, when you remove that score, one of Tennessee's primary scorers from the conversation, well, now you've got to deal with, 4 guys for Oklahoma who are probably going to bring it. I'd much rather have 4 guys who consistently score than a Josh Hubbard from Mississippi State who, could be on or off. So I think, you know what you're going to get with Oklahoma if you are them, and that's something you can carry with you on the road. But, when you have guys like that, it sets up a big night for Bishop Boswell, guys like Amari Evans, those defense-first kind of guys that I think need to have a big night for Tennessee to, pull it off tonight. But I think you're going to see a game similar to LSU because, that one, you're a double-digit spread going into that game, but, that's a game that comes down to the last 5 minutes. I think you're going to see a similar script. But, yeah, the JP thing does worry me a little bit because I don't like the idea of Tennessee removing one of those primary scorers just because we've seen them go on those. It feels like they're self-inflicted scoring droughts sometimes because they'll get that offensive board, but they can't make the bunny. And JP, yes, has been, one of the guys that has struggled with that, but, the last few games he's gotten better. He puts up 16 against LSU. And so you're going to need that from Dwayne Brown and Jalen Carey tonight, who I don't doubt a guy like Dwayne Brown will play good defense and will protect the rim, but, can he score the points? So it's going to be interesting, and this is an Oklahoma team that knows the formula, and it feels like it's got the ingredients for a trap game if you're Tennessee.
Yeah, no doubt, especially with the Vanderbilt matchup coming this weekend. But we'll look to Nate Ament, who's been Tennessee's best player over the last month plus. He scored 16 plus points in each of UT's last 10 outings, with 22 plus in 6 of them and 28 plus in 3. He is averaging a team best 22.2 points per game in that span, while shooting at 44.4% from the floor, 38.5% from deep, and 83% from the line. He has 88 free throw attempts over that stretch, which is 8.8 per game, with 9 plus in 6. And I think that's something that you're going to have to see Amen get to when you're playing a team that has a little bit of a dodgy defense. I think when you have the frame that he does and you're 6'10", and you have the ability to hit the knockdown jumpers, I think getting to the rack tonight and getting to the rim and trying to get fouled and get 3-point plays or getting to the stripe is beneficial. I mean, no one's going to complain about free points. Free throws this season have been a bit of an issue for some guys outside of Gillespie and Ament. Those have kind of been the two guys that you've been able to trust the most, obviously being your best two shooters. But I think it's imperative for Gillespie and Ament to both get to the line tonight. I would like to see both of them have double-digit free throw attempts throughout the evening. But, I mean, Brett, looking at this, is this a matchup where you see Nate take over? Is this a game where he scores 20-plus points? Or do you think this is a game where you distribute the outlook a little bit more to some other guys on the team?
I mean, I think, again, we keep going to Australia, but I think, not having those almost guaranteed 12 to 15 points, 16 points, whatever you want to call the number, that's a big loss, and it just puts the burden on guys like Nate and stuff like that who seem to be handling it well. He's going to get his. Oklahoma does have some athletic wings or possible matchups that could make it a little bit more challenging for Nate. Most of the teams in this league, the 3 position are smaller guys, a lot of 3-guard lineups, things like that, outside like a Florida or Kentucky, teams like that. But Oklahoma can throw a couple different guys that are about 6'9", long athletic guys that can at least bother Nate a little bit. And you saw him struggle a little bit against LSU from the field, going 6 for 19. You might see Nate, if you're struggling offensively, you might see Nate get at the 4 because maybe you do throw an Amari Evans out there with a Gillespie and Berg or Henderson and kind of mix and match some lineups tonight and things like that. But, as good as he's been, I don't think it matters who the defender is. I think he's going to get up his shots. He's going to get to the foul line, and we're going to see another 20-plus, 25-plus point performance. And anything less than that, then I start to worry about if you win this ball game possibly and things like that. So he's been great, and I expect nothing less, and maybe hopefully just a little bit more efficient than he was against LSU.
Well, when you talk about those LSU numbers of what he was from the field, and the way I kind of look at it too is like a player like him.
Yeah,
I don't want to jinx him. I mean, knock on wood, but like, what are the odds he shoots that bad again from the field? Like, usually those type of guys that play bad, they get up some extra shots in the gym coming into this game this week, and you would expect him to be a lot better. I would be surprised if he only made 6 shots from the field again. I think he'll be hungry to have a much better performance than he did against LSU. I mean, do you agree with that, Alex?
Definitely, and we've seen him kind of flip that switch. Sometimes it's the middle of the game. We've seen him do it at halftime, come out a few weeks ago and put up a 25-point second half. So he's got that mental ability to kind of recover from things like that. And so I definitely think he will tonight. I think you got to be licking your chops as you're Nate Ament looking at this defense.
Sure.
Because you can get to the line. He's been a good free throw shooter. Same thing we've talked about it with Jacoby. What does worry me is if some of the free throw struggles that we've seen from the other guys bleed through tonight, because that could be a stat you're looking up. 5 minutes left in the game, and you're like, well, we're shooting 65%, 60% from the line, and right now that's the difference in this being a close game. So I think that's something you want to avoid. But I think if Nate and Jacoby, I think they can give you 50 combined tonight, and they probably should with this defense. And I think if that happens, Tennessee's going to win this game handedly. But we were saying the same thing against LSU, and that's a game that came down to the wire. So now it feels like another chance for Tennessee to kind of get one of those statement wins where everybody kind of has their part and kind of gets clicking, because you thought that might be LSU. But obviously that's a game that kind of went south in the first half and much into the second half. So, see if you can get it done again tonight.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, too, on this, but I feel like Boswell is going to be a massive factor in this game. Obviously, his defensive premise going up against an Oklahoma team that's not afraid to score the ball, but his last couple of games offensively has not been very good. LSU and Mississippi State, he's only scored 6 combined points against those two teams. Kentucky and Ole Miss, you were getting double-digit points from him. You were getting 10 points, and then on top of that, you were getting 8 rebounds per game in those. Obviously, LSU, he had some foul trouble. He had 4 personal fouls. He only gave you 3 rebounds, 3 assists, and then obviously the 2 points. Mississippi State, he gave you rebounds and good defense, but again, only 4 points. I feel like he's a guy that's going to have to make 2 or 3 threes tonight, get to the line a couple times, give you 10 to 12 points. Because, on the season, he's only averaging 6 points per game, but you've seen him in SEC play. He can go out there and give you double digits. I understand he's not a big. He's not Dwayne Brown. And if Estrella doesn't play, you're going to look for the bigs for, who's going to be in for him. But I still feel like he's a guy on the offensive side with Estrella out. He can make up some points for you.
Yeah, you nailed it, I think, there. And he's got to stay out of foul trouble because you're going to need him tonight with an offense like they have. Same with Amari Evans. He was in foul trouble against Kentucky. 2 fouls early in that game. So you need those guys tonight. And I love your point, like I said, about Estrella and getting that scoring from Boswell tonight. And maybe we see Ethan Berg somehow come off the bench and give you – who had that on their bingo card?
Yeah, I'd love to see it again. Hopefully, they said his mom flew in and was here for the game. So hopefully she's still here and he can do it again because 8 points for Berg. Sign me up for that.
Ginormous.
Sign me up every game. But, looking at Estrella in the injury report, Tennessee basketball listed redshirt sophomore power forward J.P. Estrella is doubtful on the SEC availability report on Tuesday ahead of the Oklahoma game. Tonight, Estrella has an undisclosed lower body issue and has missed time during Tuesday's afternoon practice. Estrella is averaging 9.7 points per game, 5.2 rebounds, while shooting 61.6% from the field in his 17.3 minutes per game, making 7 starts on 23 appearances this season. He's played 17 or more minutes in 7 straight games, including a career-high 35 against Ole Miss on February 3rd and 31 at Georgia on January 28th. So, obviously Estrella came back from injury this season, was looking really good in non-conference play, and then we have a little bit of this lower body issue again. Is J.P. Estrella's injury history becoming a concern for y'all, or is this more of let's take it precautionary, we don't want anybody to get hurt before the NCAA tournament, or are we concerned that our leading scorer down low is constantly having injury problems?
This one kind of came out of nowhere. He'd been playing quite a few minutes. He's been playing really good basketball. So this injury thing I thought was behind us. It is somewhat a little bit of annoying just because he's been playing so well. So I'm kind of frustrated for the kid, and I'm sure he is too, and things like that. So I don't know I don't know if I'm overly concerned just yet. We'll see. Now, if this lingers, maybe I will be a little bit more concerned, but we'll see how long this one actually takes. It may just be a maintenance game that maybe you're hoping he can get through, kind of like what you did with Okpara. And as you get to these bigger games, Vandy, Alabama, Missouri, some of these bigger ones down the stretch and into March, maybe it's just a maintenance day and you're just trying to get by with a victory with him just getting a little bit extra rest.
Alex?
Yeah, I agree with that because, you look at, JP's not your most skilled defensive player, and, Oklahoma's got a good offense. So what's the trade-off here? And especially when you put a guy like Dwayne Brown in there who's shown, some really good defensive strides as of late. So maybe that trade-off isn't as big as you would think. You're probably going to lose some of the scoring. But if we can get, if you can get a guy like Ethan Berg and Bishop Boswell to give you even 7 apiece, there you go. You've kind of made up for that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think the trade-off can be as big as, a lot of people might think.
Yeah, we look over now at the YouTube chat. Again, appreciate anyone commenting. David Speaks says we need Amari Evans, Dwayne Brown, and good minutes from Jalen Carey. He can't miss open bunnies, and he needs to make most of his free throws. I would agree with that. I mean, obviously, Carey has not been the best free throw shooter on this team this season, but with an Oklahoma defense that, we've said has their issues, I understand he's not the tallest guy in the world, but he's got massive size. I mean, he's like a football player out there. I think he can get into the lane and create some problems for their bigs, hopefully. And then David Speaks also says need 20 to 25 points combined from Carey, Evans, Brown, and Okpara. Obviously, that goes along with, we were saying 50 between Ament and Gillespie. So it's going to be important for your, pieces off the bench and your other guys, the Boswells and the guys like that still start to have a good game to go along with Ament and Gillespie, because I don't think you can win this game just with those two guys. You're going to have multiple different facets scoring for you.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. What are you focused on more tonight? Is it more trying to keep an Oklahoma offense that is rolling inside a number? Even with Estrella, you struggle to get to 80 points. And that's with, Gillespie and Nate going for 40 to 45. You're struggling to really find, and if Oklahoma has a good shooting night and, and without I really don't know who I'm confident to get double figures. I think you got to have at least one other guy get to double figures, whether it's 10 to 12, unless you're telling me 5 guys combined for 8 points, we kind of did for rebounding that one night. That's what worries me. They shot 14 to 25 from the 3-point line. They had 44 bench points. They got some scoring options that we lack. So, you feel like our defense is going to have to play, I know you only gave up 63 points, but I think you got to force some turnovers, maybe get some easier baskets, more possessions for yourself, things like that. Because I wonder if offensive rebounding takes a hit, which has been your best offense this season. So with Estrella out there. So this is going to be a very interesting game, more so than I'd like.
Yeah, well, that leads us to the battle of the boards, where Tennessee leads the nation, according to KenPom, with 44.9 offensive rebounding percentage, which is
crazy,
incredible. That is 2.3% above second-ranked Florida, 42.6, and 5.2 ahead of third-place Virginia at 39.7. UT is on pace, per KenPom, to be the co-third best offensive rebounding team this century. The Vols only trailed the 2001 Michigan State with 47, the 01 Georgetown 45.3, and the 2010-2011 Old Dominion 44.9. With Estrella out, how much do you expect the bigs to fare down low? I think we've touched on it.
Yeah.
I think the offensive rebounding in this game is going to be extremely important. Obviously, anytime you can create extra shots and extra possessions for your team, that's going to be big. But if you're getting rebounds and you're just chucking them back up against the glass and missing them again, and then just rinse and repeat and getting 3 rebounds on one offensive possession but not scoring, that doesn't really do anything. Yeah. So I'd like to see our team get a rebound, collect the ball, and then go back up. I think sometimes we try and go for the tip drill, or sometimes just out of control. I think it's best to just go up two-handed sometimes, come back down with the ball, reset, and then go back up, try and get fouled. But, Estrella is obviously your best scorer on the offensive side down low. So, Alex, do you expect the bigs to fare down low well, or are you a little bit concerned with this matchup?
I think they'll be okay, because you've seen a guy like Dwayne Brown be able to get those boards. Now, the scoring hasn't translated really to the point you would like, but maybe that's because Estrella is there maybe doing a lot of the scoring in that spot. So, like I said, if you get some nice production from Jalen Carey and Dwayne Brown tonight. Another guy I think I want to touch on, not a big, but Bishop Boswell's been huge in the rebounding game for you this year. He can give you 8 to 10. So if he plays the way that he'd like to tonight, you would love to see him get close to that number and maybe make up for some of the things that JP's going to be out on. But no, I think they'll be okay. And we've seen, there's been a few games where these bigs have missed, and Tennessee really has been just fine in this category. And this is a testament, they're leading the nation in this category. That's a testament to the depth you have. It's not just one guy. So, I think they're going to fare like they pretty much have all year. It might take a little bit of a scoring hit, but rebounding-wise, I think they're going to be just fine.
Well, and this is an Oklahoma team, too, looking at the stats. I mean, they average 36 rebounds per game. Tennessee's, a little north of 43 rebounds per game on average. So, I mean, you're out-rebounding them by, a considerable margin, and a team that struggles defensively. Obviously, the offensive rebounds are important, but, I mean, Brett, just how important is it to get those offensive rebounds and to, stick out those possessions and get more than one shot before Oklahoma starts taking it down court in a fast break again?
Yeah, I mean, the percentage means you don't shoot the ball either very well either, but it's obviously the strength of our basketball team. We lost Phillips and we got better. I mean, now we're down 2 bigs, so I mean, you expect us to continue to dominate on the glass, and you didn't do it to a huge extent against LSU. I think you did better. I think you had 16 in that game, but you did a better job converting, it seemed like, especially Estrella. Estrella feels like most of his points were on little putbacks at the rim on Saturday against LSU. So, I mean, you're just going to miss that, but Brown's a beast on the glass and Carey is a beast on the glass. It's just they're just not very good at converting and stuff. And I'd like to see Akpara be better. This is a game where you need your senior leader and things like that. He can't be out there giving you 2 points and being almost a non-factor and things like that. So I think this is you gotta lean on your strengths, and I expect us to fully dominate again and just hopefully we convert some of these, because I think every basket, when you're limited scoring, is crucial in this game.
No doubt. Well, we'll head to the collar shot segment of this game as Tennessee is favored currently by 11.5 points over Oklahoma. This is, obviously, we talked about it. I mean, definitely a trap game. I think if this game was in Norman, it would be significantly even more of a trap game. You're going to Vanderbilt to play one of your biggest rivals this upcoming weekend. Vanderbilt's very good. I don't think this team's looking ahead to that game per se, but you look at this Oklahoma team, and they're 3-9 in SEC play. But as we've talked about and over this segment, they can score a lot of points. And I don't think this is going to be a game where you just walk in there and win the game by 20. Obviously, the LSU game was similar to this. You were favored by a pretty large margin, and it really went down to the wire. You really didn't take control of the game until the last 5 or so minutes. So can you play better and kind of wash Oklahoma away by halftime and be up 15 early, or is this a game that goes the whole way? I think Tennessee wins this game. I don't know if they cover. I think Tennessee wins this game by, I'm going to say, 6 to 9 points. I think it's a pretty competitive game most of the way. I think Tennessee, takes control the last 5 to 10 minutes of the game, but I just think this is an Oklahoma team that scores enough points where they're going to be able to hang in it with us. They've done it the last 2 games. They've played a lot of close games this season, so I'll say Tennessee wins by 8. Brett?
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think we cover. I thought the number, especially if Estrella's out, I didn't expect it to go up as we came in today. Like, it went up a point, I believe, from when I looked at it yesterday. So, I don't think we cover that 11.5. I think our lack of scoring, and then when you tell me we lose, almost a more consistent scorer over the last 4, even more so than Gillespie. He was playing at a high level. I think that this can't be ignored, that it's a big loss, figuratively and and everything like that. So I expect this to be a dogfight all game long. I think our defense, our perimeter defense, we guard the 3 really well. That's kind of their strength. I'm interested to see how Gillespie's going to have to play both ways, because their 2 guys are guards. He's going to have to guard one of 2 guys, Brown or Nigel Pack. So it'll be interesting to see which way that goes there. So, but I expect this to be a dogfight. They're playing well. We're playing decent when you like the home court advantage. But, yeah, I like it around that 6 to 8 range, like you said.
Alex?
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I mean, you definitely like to have this game at home, especially with Vandy coming up on this weekend. But we've seen Tennessee struggle with these high-powered offenses sometimes this year. I mean, Kentucky's done it to them twice. They come out and shoot 50%, and boom, Tennessee's on the bad end of 2 of those games. But I think Tennessee's going to get it done tonight. But I'm right in the range you guys are. But you're going to have to play 40 minutes, and that's been something that's hard for this team to do this year. So can they put 40 minutes together?
No doubt. You're going to have to play a good game if you want to win this one. But we're going to hit a break. On the other side of the break, we're going to talk about the Baseballs. They had another dominating victory yesterday against UNC Asheville. We'll get to it on the other side of the break. This is the Playbook on Fan Run Radio.
For the fans, by the fans, this
is Fan Run Radio, Knoxville.
Are you ready for the start of a new season? Maybe looking for your team to go on a tournament run? Get game day ready with Crumble. Head on over to your nearest location and pick up 12 pre-selected cookies plus exclusive toppers. When you're looking for dessert options, there's no question about who you should call on. Our listeners already know. Last year, the Dubai chocolate was a home run, along with the brownie batter. Oreo crumb was another crowd favorite. What new flavor will set the standard this season? If you're in the Knoxville area, there are 3 locations ready to serve you: Clinton Highway, Parkside Drive, and Maryville. Download the Crumble app to build your best lineup and vote on the best combos. You can even put your bid in to request a new flavor. Order in the app and slide on over to your nearest location. Tell them Fan Run sent you, and as always, it's for the fans, by the fans. Don't miss the cookies.
White Claw is taking hard seltzer to new heights with White Claw Surge. At 8% alcohol, White Claw Surge is a stronger wave of refreshment that doesn't compromise on taste. Available in 4 bold waves of flavor like ripe blackberry, citrusy blood orange, zesty natural lime, and tart cranberry. Check out your favorite retailer in-store and online for the White Claw Surge Variety 12-pack and 16-ounce single-serve cans. White Claw Surge. Please drink responsibly.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jacob Wolko at Knoxville Smiles. Have you ever wanted to improve the look of your smile? We know firsthand what the power of a great smile means to a person's confidence and health. Our team of doctors can provide you with an array of options for helping you achieve your cosmetic goals. From simply moving teeth into a better position, to reversible cosmetic bonding, to full mouth implant-supported dentures. It is our goal to help patients feel good about their appearance while achieving optimal health. Want to learn more? Call us at 865-539-1776 to schedule an evaluation, or visit us online at knoxvillesmiles.com.
Running a business, coaching a team, planning your next big event? You need more than just gear. You need SM Athletics and Logo Solutions. Custom uniforms, branded apparel, promotional products, done right, done fast, and built to show off your brand with pride. From local businesses to high schools to major universities, SM Athletics is trusted by winners. Get real service, get real quality, get noticed. SM Athletics and Logo Solutions, where your brand comes to life.
Visit smathletics.com and let's build something great together.
Fan Run Radio, the flagship station for Tennessee fans.
This ain't no wishy-washy, limp-wristed, kale-eating, half-ass sports radio station.
We're your in-your-face, truth-telling, say it loud, flag-waving, face-painting, hardcore, bring the noise, causing a ruckus, don't give a damn sports station.
Sports talk that doesn't just hang up and listen.
For the fans. This is Fan Run Radio.
Get some.
All right, back here on the Playbook on Fan Run Radio, weekdays 1 to 3. Gonna get into some baseball now. We're talking about the Baseballs. Another win yesterday to get to 4-0 as they defeated UNC Asheville 10-3 Tuesday evening to Lindsey Nelson Stadium. Another good win for Tennessee. I mean, obviously, before you get into you go through these non-conference games in baseball, you play a lot of teams that, probably aren't going to play in the postseason. UNC Asheville, probably one of those teams coming out of the Big South. Now, you do play Kent State this weekend. They're the projected favorite or in second place, first, second, depending on what poll you look at of MAC teams. So, I mean, they're a team that could definitely make a regional as a 3 or 4 seed. So, I think you're going to learn some stuff this weekend. Kent State's a very solid team. They played LSU the other night, had an early lead through 3 or 4 innings. They were up 4-3. So, definitely a series there that you can't take for granted. But, I mean, the takeaways from last night, I mean, we're going to get to them here in a minute, but, I mean, it has to be Blaine Brown.
Yeah.
The guy hit 3 home runs this weekend. I think him, Ford, and Myatt are probably going to be your biggest power hitters on this roster. And then the guy also struck out the side. So, I mean, Tennessee looks like they kind of have this Shohei unicorn that's on their roster. I don't know how much pitching he's going to do this year. I mean, obviously – you have your weekend rotation, hopefully, with Evan Blanco, Landon Mack, and Tegan Coons, where you're obviously not going to use him on the weekends. And then midweeks are kind of interesting. I mean, with the scholarships going from 11.7 to 34 this year, you're going to kind of have a midweek guy. I mean, you used to be able to have a guy pitch 1 inning, another guy pitch an inning, or maybe 2 innings. with 34 guys, you have less bodies. You're going to probably have to have a guy go 4 or 5 innings. I don't know if that's going to be what Blaine Brown does, or if that's going to be like a Frederick that you look to, or if it's going to be an Appenzeller, or I mean, obviously you're probably going to save Arvidsson for the weekends, but I think Brown could definitely end up being that guy that you see in a weekday role, whether that's starting or a guy that comes in and gives you 4 innings in the middle of the game. But I mean, takeaways definitely him have to be number one. You had a big inning early in the game. I thought Abernathy scored on that inside the park home run. It didn't look like they tagged him out. I was in the stadium. I thought he was there. But I mean, a little bit of a, tough game for UNC Asheville at the end. They lose a couple balls in the lights, 2 just easy pop flies, drop down. You score a couple of runs off that. So, I mean, I don't really look at it too much. I mean, you took care of business. I think Blaine Brown, though, has to be the main takeaway from this game.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's like you said, a unicorn. He's a unique baseball player, something we've not seen here. We've had a lot of baseball players come through here, but none to the skill set of what Blaine Brown does. As I said yesterday, I feel like you put him in an outfield position, he could do a job. And he's gonna get it done. I mean, you're trying not to overreact because of who you've played and things like that. We'll see when we get to this, tournament in Texas and SEC play starts. That's where you really make your money. But you can see he's oozing talent. This roster is oozing talent. And, he could just be a guy that if you need an out on a weekend series, like he could come in, maybe a lefty-lefty matchup, something like that, need to get an inning. He could do that. Like you said, your starting pitching's deep, even beyond the 3 guys we've talked about, and things like that. So, this is just another bullet that Elander has in his gun, and it's a great one to have. And, he was kind of like those late arrival transfers. You've heard of the Henry Fords and some of these pitchers we got, and then you just throw in this, who's this Blaine Brown guy? And, he's even better than advertised. So, there's not many questions you can ask. I do wonder if Reese Chapman considered, if there's any weakness, maybe is it Reese Chapman in that 4-hole? You're starting to get these big bats. You maybe put Tyler Myatt higher up, or you're gonna have Garrett Wright coming back. You didn't have Manny Marin in there, so there's just so many options and things like that. But last night was just a ho hum midweek game that you won. You took care of business, and you got to see some new faces. I thought that Ethan Bianco guy came in and was impressive. Tracy did a job. So. Yeah, I mean, there's new faces we didn't even know about outside of the guys that I think are going to prove vital to this team's success. And, yeah, you're just over the moon right now where things are.
Well, Blaine Brown picked up right where he left off after lighting it up this past weekend. The sophomore was the opener for last night's contest, striking out the side and adding an RBI double later on as a hitter. Alex, how impressive has Blaine Brown been? I mean, obviously, I think the question is pretty self-explanatory that he's been very good, but just I guess what were your expectations coming in for him? And I mean, obviously 4 games in, I mean, you don't know how it's going to go, but I mean, it's the guy you got from Rice. I mean, he was a freshman. You knew he was good and playing in the American Conference, but sometimes moving up to SEC play can be a little different. Obviously not into SEC conference games yet, but the power at the plate and the pitching. And the best part about Blaine Brown is Blaine Brown will be here next season as well. Yeah. So, I mean, how impressed have you been with him so far? And, I mean, what do you make of him through 4 games?
Massively impressed. And I think, you're looking back on it and you look back at what he did at Rice, it feels like it's kind of a diamond in the rough scenario. Sure. He led Rice as a freshman in all major offensive categories. Yeah. And, hearing the way that Josh Elander talked about him before the season, he's hitting the ball 110 miles an hour in camp. And then he gets out there, on opening weekend and does that 3 times in one game. I mean, this guy's he's a freak, and that's what you look for, in the game of baseball these days is you want a guy that hits the ball hard. He can hit for power, and now he can pitch. He can hit upper 90s on the mound as a lefty. So, I mean, he is the storyline of this Tennessee team through these first few games. And, I think, he's going to play your central role this season along with that. I mean, that first third of the order, Henry Ford, Blaine Brown, and Levi Clark and Stone Wallace, those guys, that's scary for opposing pitchers. So, that's Blaine Brown's going to be the guy to watch. We touched on Cam Appenzeller, but that's, some early adversity for that kid. And, he cruised over the weekend. I think he had 4 punch outs in 2 innings. So some easy work for him there, but you like to see, guys work out of adversity like he did yesterday.
Yeah,
so
sure.
that's a big growing point. I think that's the point of midweek games, and he did a good job of it yesterday.
Yeah, well, I mean, Brown specifically, I mean, anytime you can find a diamond in the rough, in quotations, that could, I mean, he's projected to go as a top 5 pick in the 2027 draft. Obviously, only a sophomore this year, not draft eligible, but I mean, this guy had 2 more years in college baseball. I don't want to get out ahead of my skis. Again, it was UNC Asheville. Like, you haven't played any, like, real
Nicholls
good.
State.
Yeah, I mean, you haven't played, like, really any good opponents.
But he's hitting the
yet.
ball hard.
But he's hitting it hard,
That's a
and,
big
like,
deal.
that translates to anything. But
Well, he's hitting the ball out against Tegan Coons in practice.
Yeah.
And some of these,
Yeah.
he's seeing good pitching day
Exactly.
in and day out.
That's
so.
why I'm so high on him. Is just like what everyone said. Like all these people that were at these scrimmages and stuff in the fall were just raving about him.
And you see him on the bases, like he's lightning quick.
Yeah, he's athletic.
Smooth. I mean, it's just, boy.
Play the outfield for you. I mean, he's a 5-tool guy.
Yeah, well, I mean, looking at the rest of the mound, I mean, obviously freshman left-handed pitcher, who you said a minute ago, Cam Appenzeller, came in relief in the 2nd inning, gave up 2 early runs, but settled in, retiring at 11 in a row to end his outing, and striking out 7 in his 4 innings of work to earn his first collegiate victory. The Vols erased a 2-run deficit in the bottom of the 2nd, played in 2 of their own thanks to Chris Newstorm and his sacrifice fly and a Jay Abernathy triple. We'll go ahead and put inside the park home run there and an asterisk. I'm pretty sure he scored. I don't know what they saw on that. I guess his foot kind of was up in the air at the end. I guess they thought that was where they tagged him. But, I mean, Appenzeller, obviously what you said. I mean, this was a guy that was kind of shocking that we got him on campus. I mean, you thought this guy was just going to go play pro ball out of high school. Obviously, a little bit of maybe just nerves of playing the college game early in, but to retire 11 in a row, I really think that gets you going for your next outing. Someone that's going to grow through the season. So far, though, what I see on the mound that's been the most impressive from this team is there hasn't been many walks. I mean, we saw the starting pitchers this past weekend. I think there was only 3 or 4 walks that those 3 guys gave throughout their starts through, like, however many innings they pitched combined. You saw Doyle, I mean, as good as he was last year, he walked some guys sometimes.
Yeah.
Marcus Phillips definitely walked batters, when he wasn't on his game. And then, game 3s when you had Coons or whoever else was starting, walks were a problem there. So, I mean, again, it's non-conference play, but I think it's welcoming to see these guys throw strikes. I don't mind if you give up a solo home run every once in a while into the porches if you're throwing strikes. So, I mean, that's kind of what I make of the pitching staff so far. I mean, anything to add from you guys?
I think one of the things that I know, especially on Saturday with Landon Mack, is they control the running game. And Landon Mack's got a great pickoff move. And I remember he showed one early in that 1st inning. And I turned around and I was like, he's got a good move. And then very next play, he gets the guy at first on a pickoff.
Yeah.
So that's something that Marcus Phillips had some trouble with last year and,
Sure.
and the staff in general that they harped on a lot. And honestly, that almost cost Tennessee some games in SEC play last year.
Yeah.
So that's, the little things like that as a pitcher, the things you can control. That's a huge deal if you can control the base paths. And I think Landon Mack is going to be pretty good in that department. But no, you nailed it, Garrett.
I mean, that was the pickoffs. I mean, obviously, it's just an intricacy of the game, but like Arvidsson, as good as he pitched in that SEC championship game, like he almost threw the game away on that pickoff play.
You can throw the game away.
So, I mean, those are plays that like people don't really think about, but I mean, it's important to have a good pickoff move. I mean, you saw our guys get picked off, 3 times?
3 times.
So, the other day, I mean, it can happen. I mean, that's part of college baseball. But, I mean, looking at the plate, obviously Stone Lawless made UNC Asheville pay for 2 straight walks in the bottom of the 3rd, and then parking a 3-run home run to the second deck of the porches to give the Vols their first lead of the night, 5-2. Virginia transfer Henry Ford kept the foot on the gas in the bottom half of the 4th as he left a yard in the porch in the left field to extend UT's lead to 4. After Brown's RBI double in the 6th, the Tennessee offense pushed across 3 more runs in the 7th, thanks largely in part to the UNC outfielders losing 2 of those fly balls that we talked about in the lights. Those resulted in an RBI double for Abernathy and Ford. UNC tacked on a run in the top of the 9th, but nothing more for the Volunteers. So they cruised to a 10-3 win behind another strong collective effort from the bullpen and timely hits with runners in scoring position. What is your approval rating so far for Elander and the Vols? I mean, I think the transition has been smooth. I think, obviously, these guys that you got out of the transfer portal, whether that's a Landon Mack or a Blanco or Ford, a lot of new faces on this team. No Hunter Ensley anymore. I look at Reese Chapman kind of as your leader now. But, I mean, you still don't have all your guys back. Marin didn't play the doubleheader. Arvidsson hasn't pitched yet. Garrett Wright hasn't played yet. Like, you still have a lot of guys that are going to play. Grimmer hasn't played yet. Yeah, and I mean, you're still trying to figure out lineups. I mean, I would give it an A so far through 4 games. I know you're not beating teams like 20-0 or anything like that, but I mean, you haven't really had a competitive game yet. So I would give it an approval rating of an A through 4 games.
Yeah, and that's what you kind of expected. There's too much talent not to be a smooth transition. These guys are familiar with Elander. He's familiar with these guys. He's got a relationship with them all. It's just going to be piecing this lineup together day by day. You know, he's got, he doesn't have many problems. The big thing is keeping guys happy, getting enough at bats, making sure they're ready to go. This lineup's going to change daily, every weekend. He's trying things. Was a DH, seemed like more so at Walter State. Trying him at second base yesterday, and different things like that. So it's just going to be, I think he's going to, last year, I don't think we were as deep as this year's team, even in the bats category. Like, we were begging for Bargo and Chapman, who were struggling mightily, to let's try Abernathy. Like, these guys were striking out. I don't think Elander's gonna, leave these guys in for multiple games. I think if you're struggling to play, he's gonna try something different. There's too many good bats to leave on the bench, and too good offensively to just keep guys in there that are struggling. And I know the approach of Tony was, all right, let's leave him in there, see if he can get something going, but it proved costly down the stretch. I mean, you had guys go 1 for 50, their last few games. So I think that's where you're going to see a change with Elander being a hitting type guy, things like that. So, this is going to be interesting to see who takes the jump and is ready to go for the first SEC series, which is a mighty big one with Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, I think Myatt's an interesting one because, you saw him in the infield, and obviously he credits Russ Kivett to that, kind of the infield guy. I don't think he's going to win the starting job for second base. I think he's going to be a guy that's a DH. I just want the guy to be in the lineup every single game. And that.
So who do you think takes second?
Well, you have so many different options.
If Antigua keeps hitting, he's going to be your second base.
That's what Antigua's just too good of a defensive player to not have him on. I think he's too good to not play the middle infield. He's literally one of the best defensive middle infielders.
But you see guys just get late inning subs as
that's what he did, a lot last season. But I don't know. I feel like you saw all the people talking about over the summer how good he was in the Appalachian League and hitting and stuff, and obviously you haven't really necessarily seen that yet. But I don't know. Elander's a hitting guy. I think he continues to work with Antigua. I think he ends up in the middle infield. But for who I want to see more of, I just want to see Myatt in the lineup every day.
Yeah.
Alex?
No, and you killed it there. That's been the most interesting emergence of this weekend for me is, Manny Marin goes down and boom, here's Tyler Myatt here to kind of give you that bat. And so now, he's become one of Tennessee's better hitters through these first few games. And, he's a guy that is shown he can use the whole field. He had that RBI double yesterday that, he went the other way with. And that's, so huge. When you can just throw that guy in the lineup and then open up the position diversity for him to play all over the field. So that's huge. But then you kind of create a good problem to have is how do we find that guy a spot, once everybody gets more healthy. Just to chime in on the aerial topic there, he's your perfect 9-hole hitter, if you can get him to hit consistently, even for average, because, we've touched on that defense. It's huge. So the lineup really – not very many holes early, and there's a few guys who are hurt. So the Elander era has gotten off to a very good start.
Yeah, checking in on the YouTube chat again. Buck says you guys have done a great job filling in for William. Thanks, you.
Buck.
Well, we appreciate that. William hopefully will be back again tomorrow, just battling a little bit of a sore throat and raspy voice still, but we're doing our best today, trying to get it all in. But the Vols will be back at Lindsey Nelson this weekend to host Kent State. The Golden Flashes will be here for a 3-game series starting Friday at 4:30. As I said, Kent State's a solid team. They're going to be one of the favorites to win the MAC. Wouldn't be surprised if one of their aces goes out there Friday night and pitches a solid game. I don't think it's going to be a 3-0 sweep with your eyes closed. I think you obviously probably win all 3 games, but you're going to have to play good ball to win them. So we're going to hit our final break of the day, and we'll be back on the other side.
Congratulations. You found sports radio that doesn't suck. This is Fan Run Radio, Knoxville.
Hey Knoxville! Surfside iced tea and vodka, made with real brewed tea, is only 100 calories, 2 grams of sugar, with no bubbles and no troubles. That's right, zero carbonation, so it's easy to sip and enjoy. Headed to a game day or party at a friend's house? Bring an iced tea or lemonade variety pack from Surfside, or try their green tea and new raspberry tea vodka. Find the can with the sunset stripes this season. Surfside iced tea and vodka, sold at bars, restaurants, and stores near you. Surfside iced tea and vodka, sunshine in a can. Must be 21 or older. Enjoy responsibly.
Citizens National Bank.
Life is more fun with a Good Life checking account from Citizens National Bank, offering extra benefits including bank travel. This September, experience the perfect fall getaway on the New England Rails and Sails Tour, or join CNB in October to chase the Northern Lights in Iceland. Get in on the fun by calling 865-429-7935.
Citizens National Bank. Banking never felt so good.
Member FDIC.
Barley's has live music on weekends, general team trivia on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m., and now live sports trivia, courtesy of the Knoxville Trivia Guys, every Thursday night upstairs. The game starts at 7 p.m. and is free to play for everyone, so head on down to the Old City and show off your sports knowledge and win gift cards to Barley's. Use those gift cards to buy some delicious food and drinks, and you can take it all in with their wide selection of TVs and indoor projectors. Barley's Tap Room and Pizzeria.
At Knoxville Insurance Group, they understand the challenges many consumers face when searching for insurance coverage. That's why whether it's for you, your family, or your business, they create a coverage plan specifically for your unique needs. Knoxville Insurance Group is an independent firm, which means they aren't beholden to just one insurance company. They search multiple companies acting as your negotiator to find you the best possible policy and price. Start a quote in minutes at KnoxvilleInsuranceGroup.com or call them today at 865-694-9788.
A brand built in Tennessee and born from the love of the game. Inward Half revolutionizes golfing comfort. Crafted by a former pro and dedicated enthusiast just like you, our luxury performance wear guarantees you stay cool and comfortable through every swing and every day. We're not just a brand. We've set out to create a lifestyle for those who understand that impeccable style and premium performance are a hole-in-one. Enjoy the walk-in with Inward Half.
All right, back here on the Playbook on Fan Run Radio. Coming up next is The Drive from 3 to 6 here on Fan Run Radio as well. Last thing to get to as we end the show. It's a very good show. Appreciate you guys tuning in, and Brett and Alex in the production room. Last night, as I'm watching, college basketball and stuff, this Mick Cronin press conference happens at the end of the game. Gets in a heated exchange with the reporter. Says the reporter raised his voice at him. Basically says he doesn't give an expletive about the MSU student section, and then just basically goes torch earth on this poor reporter. I've pretty
ejected
much
his own guy.
And ejected his own
player. Yeah, I forgot to mention that too. But I think I've about had it with Mick Cronin.
Very interesting
I
guy.
think his $22.5 million buyout is the only thing that's keeping him as the head coach of UCLA right now, because he's talking like someone that knows that he has a massive buyout and he can do whatever he wants and nothing will be done. Obviously, you saw Tang at Kansas State got booted for what he said. I don't know. I thought Cronin was a guy that I respected as a head coach, but the past couple of weeks, some of the stuff that guy said has just been absolutely head-scratching.
Was he the guy that got on a reporter last year for saying Gonzaga wrong? I think he
might have
went on a
been.
whole rant about how it's
Yeah.
Gonzaga, not Gonzaga.
Yeah,
and
it sounds like
literally-
something he would probably do.
Yeah, interesting guy.
Very interesting guy.
We got to go to one of his pressers last year in Lexington for the first round of the March Madness.
we did play.
And he was a very, very interesting guy.
He was saying the other day, they asked him, what do you wanting to recruit? He was like, I want a Eastern European guy that can drink as much vodka as anybody. That's what I want. I was
Nice.
like, all right, well.
I didn't mind him ejecting his own guy. He thought it was a dirty
Yeah, it
play.
was a dirty play,
He got
but-
it, but it was still crazy. You never seen that.
You watch players' reaction. He's like, it does a double take. It's great.
But yeah, if we're going to give Coach Kim all this grief about what she did, I mean, what he's doing is just even bigger joke.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I've never seen a player eject. I mean, I've seen player or coaches get mad, at reporters and stuff like that, but it's just funny, the exchange of, you raised
It is a
your
weird
voice.
question.
Yeah, and I understand that they just got beat by Michigan
Got
State.
blasted, yeah.
The thing about it with the dirty play at the end of the day was, I don't like dirty plays in basketball, but Jeremiah Fears has been doing this for multiple weeks
Yeah.
for Mississippi State, so it's like, I don't know. If he's doing it, I guess the other team can do it a little bit too. But
it certainly wasn't the Providence foul or whatever
no,
that was.
it wasn't like he took him out of the air.
He looked like he at least tried to make a play. The guy landed on his back or something. Like, looked dangerous, more dangerous than it was, because it was only a flagrant. It wasn't like it was a flagrant 2.
It was an F1.
You know, so. But, yeah, this guy's it's just funny. He's just this little guy, but he's so angry.
So many characters in college basketball. It's great.
Was he the one that was complaining also about playing games on the East Coast? And
yeah, I think so.
Like, you know, it's funny because bracketology on ESPN has us possibly matched up with him as an 6'11", you know. But it's in Portland, so, you know, he can't complain. But, yeah, so it's funny. It's that guy.
Yeah. Well, that'll about wrap it up for us today on the Playbook. Appreciate everybody that tuned in. Brett and Alex for helping out. William, hopefully we'll be back tomorrow, if not Friday. But thank you again for everybody for tuning in. Coming up next on Fan